Fearne has come to the former Ongar Union Workhouse in Essex. She's meeting historian Peter Higginbotham.
Right, mind the steps. It's an amazing building, this. The fact it's largely untouched since it actually was a workhouse.
So how many people would William have been looking after?
Although he was kind of based here, he was a district medical officer, was his job title. That meant he looked after people in their own homes. Technically, he probably had a couple of thousand people, potentially could be patients.
Considering William now had 7 children to feed and a wife, do you think he was making a sufficient wage to live on?
Quite possibly not. First of all, the salary, was not very good. And there were lots of things, lots of outgoings that you had to take out of that salary. So that the doctor had to pay for all the medicines he dispensed to his patients, which can make quite a big hole in his salary.
Absolutely.
If you were ill or you wanted time off, then you had to arrange a stand-in as a sort of substitute, and you had to pay their cost. So you could end up working, virtually for nothing.
I guess although this was a very hard life for William, there were some pluses. He's in a beautiful sort of rural area, perhaps reminiscent of where he's from, Garver, where he had a very rural existence. Nice for the children to be able to run around freely and not be in a stuffy city with lots of disease. He's managed to just about keep everything afloat and keep some sort of stability. When I first found out about William's life here, I was relatively concerned, but I feel like it wasn't as bad as I initially thought, his life and his work here.
That's true. I mean, he settled into the job, but life is never simple, and in 1871, something happened which was to change how things were going for him. This is an entry from the Guardian's meeting minutes.
Dr. Gilmore, medical officer of District Number 1, attended this board to answer a charge of neglect for not attending the child of a pauper at Fifield named Rose Maddell when first requested to do so on the 8th of September last, and that such child died a few hours after his attendance the next morning. So that's pretty serious. Mr. Gilmore, having explained that he was ill on the evening of the 8th of September last, but that he attended at 7 o'clock on the following morning, that his substitute had left this neighbourhood and that he had been and still was unable to attain another medical substitute. So as you said, that would have been his responsibility to therefore pay for someone else to go and do his job.
Yeah, that was one of the key responsibilities, no matter what, you had to provide the service.
And he didn't.
And he didn't.
And the kid died.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how you ever recover from that. Do we know if he lost his job?
We're not absolutely sure. We do know he'd moved on from Ongar sort of fairly soon after this event. We do know where he was in 1880, in fact. We've now moved on to the Bethnal Green Workhouse in London. And so he's now the workhouse dispenser, making up the drugs and potions that were prescribed for the workhouse inmates.
So Gilmore, dispenser. Clark read a letter from Mr. Gilmore asking the Guardians if they would pay him his salary weekly. So what's going on here?
The fact he wanted his salary weekly, I guess, sort of implies he didn't really have the savings to keep him going throughout, till the next paycheck.
It's literally hand to mouth. He needs to get that money and get the food on the table for the kids. Goodness me.
So just a few months later, early 1881, again, he crops up in the minutes.
I'm imagining at this point it's more bad news. Let's have a look. The medical officer reported that there was no improvement in the health of Mr. Gilmore, the dispenser. So he's ill now.
That's right.
Do we know what was wrong with him?
We could move forward another few weeks. Another entry in the minute book.
So this is the 22nd of March, 1881. Mr. Knox reported that Mr. Gilmore, the dispenser, died on Monday. Oh, gosh, how sad. Do we know what William died of?
One final piece of paper.
So this is a certified copy of an entry of death. William Gilmore 60 years old. Cause of death, bronchitis, so 3 months. So could have been something that he caught from a patient or someone that he was dispensing drugs to, or is that quite common of that era?
It's probably a reflection of his living conditions. It was a typical workhouse kind of condition.
He had such high hopes and he kept on trudging and battling away and never quite made it. So he finished his life in quite a humble way as it had started, I guess, really.
And as far as we know, there weren't any obituaries.
No.
You know, he just seems to have...
Just drifted away, that was it.
Yeah, I'm really sad.
Poor William. And his poor wife. Widow, present at the death. Gosh, how sad. Good story, though. He had a great story. He definitely wasn't boring, that's for sure. Definitely wasn't boring. He was never prepared to surrender. He had huge dreams and it just didn't work out for him. He was made of strong stuff, and I think that's what I'm going to take away from this story more than anything. I really hoped when I was starting out that I would discover some real hard-working characters who had grit and passion and determination. Evan, who went from coal miner to chemist. Sure, he had his ups and downs, but it was a real success story. And then poor William, who tried so hard. He was relentless in his efforts to do well for himself and his family. And there were these wonderful glimmers of hope and great moments. But at the end of the tale was really quite heartbreaking. I really want my kids to understand these brilliant stories when they get older and see the determination and the grit and the passion there. So on that note, I'm off to go home to give my kids a big hug.